So something very strange is happening right now in American politics. Suddenly, Donald Trump is talking about war with Iran, missiles, bombings, military briefings, emergency meetings on Capitol Hill. Cable news is filled with maps of the Middle East again. And if you just turned on the TV today, you'd probably think this story came out of nowhere. But here's the part that people are starting to notice. Just days before all of this, another story was dominating headlines: the Epstein files. And not just a small update either. We're talking about depositions, testimony, and a whole lot of uncomfortable questions suddenly resurfacing. Then, almost overnight, the entire conversation shifted. And right in the middle of that shift, Trump starts talking about a new military conflict. So the question people are asking is simple. Is this really about Iran? Or is something else being buried under the noise?
The reason we've been moving so fast with this is that they want to finish the job before we run out of munitions. But don't worry, President Donald J. Rumsfeld says we are locked and loaded for the long haul. He says the United States munition stockpiles have, at the medium and upper medium grade, never been higher or better. As was stated to me today, we have a virtually unlimited supply of these weapons. Wars can be fought forever and very successfully using just these bullets. Oh, good, the war can be fought forever. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. Just like the war his stomach is fighting with his pants. It will go on. Now listen, I'm not an expert in this, but I'm pretty sure our military doesn't have unlimited weapons. It's a stockpile. It's not the buffet at the Golden Corral.
Okay, so that's the message coming from the president right now. A conflict that could last weeks, maybe longer. And apparently, the United States has what he calls a virtually unlimited supply of weapons. Now look, wars and military actions are serious topics. But the timing of this escalation is what has people raising eyebrows. Because just days earlier, the story dominating political conversation had nothing to do with Iran. It had everything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And more importantly, who appears in those files.
The House Oversight Committee released footage of both Bill and Hillary Clinton's depositions, including this exchange with Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who used some of her time to ask the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, about Pizzagate.
So, excuse me, your question is about whether or not she has reviewed any emails in the Epstein release files about Pizzagate.
Correct.
Pizzagate was totally made up. I can't believe you're even referencing it. You should be.
There are connections to the language.
Well, the QAnon people believe there are. So
I don't know what QAnon people believe.
Have at it.
You know, the last time somebody told Lauren Boebert to have at it, Beetlejuice had to take an unscheduled intermission. Mrs. Clinton was not amused by Lauren Boebert asking her about this weird, nonsensical fairy tale, but she was more comfortable when asked about Jeffrey Epstein himself.
There are many files where Jeffrey Epstein seems to speak as though he does know you personally. He quotes, "Hey, Hillary Clinton is much prettier in person." This was Tuesday, September 20th, 2011. And then another...
I'm not going to object to that.
Guess Epstein didn't have a type. Where was that Hillary in 2016? Then it was Hillary's turn to question the questioners about the fact that she and her husband were asked to testify, whereas Epstein's BFF was not.
Reasonable people would have to assume they are engaged in a massive cover-up. As an American, as a citizen, all of us should be, regardless of party, wondering what are they hiding. The President of the United States is not above the law and should be, in a setting like this, answering questions under oath.
Now that moment right there might seem like just another chaotic congressional hearing. But the reason it matters is because the Epstein files have suddenly come back into the public conversation again. Depositions, testimony, and a lot of political figures being asked questions under oath, including some questions about Donald Trump himself. Now historically, when something explosive like that starts gaining traction, political news cycles have a way of shifting very quickly. And suddenly, the focus becomes something else entirely, like a brand new international conflict. Now again, nobody is saying geopolitical events don't happen. Of course they do. But the messaging around this situation has been, let's just say, a little confusing. Because depending on which Trump official you listen to, the explanation for this conflict changes. One minute, the administration says Iran posed an imminent nuclear threat. The next minute, the Secretary of State says that intelligence agencies believe Iran was years away from having those capabilities. Then another explanation comes out, saying the United States acted first because Israel was about to act. And then Trump himself contradicts that narrative.
His nut jugglers are working overtime to spin this in a positive way.
Bibi and Trump are the modern Roosevelt-Churchill combination. Bibi and President Trump are Roosevelt-Churchill.
That's right. Taken from Henry S. Kissinger, they are Roosevelt and Churchill. I assume Trump is... Does it go by weight? Trump would be Churchill, right?
Okay, that comparison is doing a lot of work. Roosevelt and Churchill, two leaders who fought World War II, being compared to Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, regardless of where people stand politically, that is a pretty dramatic historical comparison. But it also shows something important. The moment this conflict started, the MAGA media ecosystem immediately switched into narrative-building mode. Suddenly, the war isn't just about Iran, it's about Trump being a historic wartime leader.
And then we have Senator Markwayne Mullin from Oklahoma, who doesn't seem to know which country we bomb.
There's no question that Iran clearly fits in that picture. It's up to the Iraqi people, or I'm sorry, the Iranian people, to declare war and ask for Congress to declare war on Iraq.
Oops. Has there ever been a Mark Waynier person than Mark Wayne?
And fortunately, you have President Hegseth, or I say President Hegseth, Secretary Hegseth, that has got a great relationship with President Trump, and President Hegseth's been there.
Okay, now you're fired. Now you're in trouble. These guys, they can't even get their story straight. First, Trump and his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, said Iran posed an imminent threat because they were probably a week away from having nuclear material and ICBMs that could strike the United States. But Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, said Iran was not enriching uranium. U.S. intelligence said they were still a decade away from having long-range missiles. Trump then floated the idea that the war was about regime change, while Pete Hegseth was saying this wasn't a war of regime change, even though the regime did change. And yesterday, Marco Rubio said, we attacked because Israel was about to attack Iran, so we had to strike first. But today, Trump put the kibosh on that idea, saying Israel did not force his hand, and if anything, he forced their hand. And they can't even agree on whether or not this is a war. Trump keeps calling it a war, whereas his minions in Congress, like Anna Paulina Lunatic and the always confused Markwayne Mullin, are saying it ain't.
Are there measures being taken not to eliminate other possible alternatives to leadership?
This is war, and we're taking out the threat.
You'll concede this is war. You'll concede this is war.
We haven't declared war. They declared war on us, but we haven't.
War, Secretary Hegseth.
We haven't declared
just now you said this is war.
They called it war.
They called it war. What I was saying, okay, well, that was a misspoke. What I was saying that they declared war on us, but war is ugly.
Oh, Mark Wayne, you done mix yourself up again. Markwayne Mullin, earlier in the day today, he was talking about the smell of war, and I was interested in hearing him talk about it. He said you can taste it. He said it fills your nostrils and you never forget it. And I thought it was fascinating until I found out he was not in the military. He was a plumber.
And moments like that are exactly why people are scratching their heads. Because when members of Congress can't even clearly explain what country the conflict involves, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence that there's a clear long-term strategy here. It starts to feel like the messaging is being assembled in real time. And that brings us back to the timing question. Because before all of this, before the war headlines, before the military briefings, the Epstein files were trending everywhere. Media outlets, social media, congressional hearings, people asking questions about who appears in those documents. Then almost instantly, the entire political news cycle pivots. Now every headline is about Iran. Every panel discussion is about military strategy. And the Epstein story? It suddenly disappears from the front page. And in the middle of all this chaos, there's another bizarre story circulating. Because while the administration is talking about war strategy, the internet is talking about something completely different. Trump's neck. Yes, his neck. A photo surfaced showing what looks like a large red rash or mark on the side of his neck. The White House doctor quickly issued a statement saying it was from a very common cream, which honestly raises even more questions. Because if it's so common, why not just say what the cream is? People online started joking that Trump now has 3 different hair parts happening simultaneously: a comb over, a comb under, and a comb around. It's like architectural engineering happening on top of his head. But jokes aside, the bigger story here isn't the rash, and it isn't even the war itself. The bigger story is how quickly the national conversation can change. One day, the focus is on Epstein, testimony, files, questions about powerful people. The next day, the country is suddenly talking about a brand new international conflict. And whether that shift is intentional or coincidence, people are starting to notice. Because at the end of the day, politics often works through distraction. Change the headline, shift the narrative, move the spotlight somewhere else. And suddenly the uncomfortable questions fade into the background. But the internet doesn't forget. Congressional records don't disappear. And the Epstein story hasn't actually gone away. It's just waiting for the next moment when the spotlight shifts back. And when it does, those questions are probably going to come right back with it. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure you subscribe, stay informed, and keep paying attention.